Hello, hello. Hang on. As I continue to be incredibly shit at what I do, I am. I had loads of time, and I was faffing around. I looked at the clock and it was said 7:59. I was like, "Ooh, I don't even have a shirt on yet." So Queco, I appreciate the message. Yes, I'm okay. I'm just very terrible at this. Okay, right. Also means I've not had a chance to fully research what I wanted to do today, which was what I was planning on doing just before the stream. So gonna be figuring this out as we go along. Wait for a few more people to roll in, and then we can kind of get on with it. I think the Twitch thing is wrong. Twitch, how do I? This is now post processing done. This. Mysterious Queco, Connor, hello, hello, hello. You just need to bear with me for a second while I sort out my life. Press that button. Got some buttons to press. Got buttons to press. Queco's still here after 18 months. Not sure why, but I'm pleased about it. The other fun one is, my office is not particularly big, you know, sort of in the order at sort of 3 meters by 2 meters. I was reaching over to turn the camera on because it's mounted on the wall, and then I brushed against my my standing desk and lowered it, and then overwrote the setting, and I can't remember what it was before, so I have no idea if this is the right height. It feels off, but I think it's okay. So I think we're getting there. What I want to do is I wanted to get some stuff up to go through, because I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do today, as always. But hang on, which window is this? Is this? Okay, don't want that up. Okay. Get up. Okay, right. Okay, I was hoping to have some more notes off screen to go through, but okay, we'll just figure it out as we go along. Okay, so today's goal, post-processing. I want to kind of finish off the renderer to kind of a point where it doesn't look as shit. And then before we go on to physics. So I want to do a bunch of post-processing effects over today's stream and next stream. I'll go through what those are in a minute. There's kind of like a minimum set I think we need, plus all the dials and the handles and the nozzles and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go through all that, add all those in, which will be fine. And then I want to do a bit of, not necessarily a bit of profiling, but not necessarily performance tweaking. But I want to start getting some metrics on how long each step in the, OpenGL part of the process, our pipeline takes, like how long each render pass takes. That's the word I'm looking for. How much memory allocating, what are the threads doing, that kind of thing. I think that would be useful to have before we start adding some really complex stuff. I don't think we're going to necessarily do anything with it, but I want more graphs in ImGUI. I want more graphs. So I think that'd be fun to spend a stream or two wiring all those up. I think some of it I've done before, but I've definitely never done the, is it the OpenGL query performance thing? So I think that would be kind of fun to stick some of those in and see, assuming that's the right way to do it. How bad do we mess it all up with the features? Well, who knows? Who knows? Yes, so I made a few. Basically, what I'm going to do now is I did some work off stream because I really wanted. There's a bunch of tedious refactoring I want to do. Okay, and I started it, and I made such a pig's ear of it, I had to back it out and basically throw it away, because what we want is handles for entities. The moment we have handles for point lights, we want handles for entities. So again, we can kind of query whether the entity still exists. And then I was like, oh, but if you're doing handles for entities, you might as well have handles for like the render data, right? Because there's a bunch of data we have to upload to the GPU per entity. Okay, right? And I was like, well, that sounds like perfect for a sparse set, because we can then, rather than at the moment, we loop through each entity and upload and write to the, although it's a coherent persistently mapped buffer, we still do n writes for n entities. So if that's all just in a sparse set, we could just do one big write. And then I was like, well, I'll start there because that's what the end goal is. Yeah, I was made such pigs ear of it. I had to back it all out. So I've done some of the other refactoring steps I would have had to have done anyway, but I've still not gotten up to making entities handles yet. So I might do that off stream because it's really tedious and requires a few beers and a bit of thought. But I'll show you what I've done. And then we'll kind of go from there. Yeah, C has had the threading library since C11, right? Okay, let's press the button. Okay, so what did I do? What did I do off stream? Hopefully you can see some of these commits. I cleaned up a test because I had this rando code in the test. Didn't want that. I had a bug in the resource packer, which I wrote off stream anyway, but I copied the code from a previous project where I wasn't correctly getting the material index. Would you consider unscheduled streams where you sit down to do what you consider boring refactoring? I find it helpful as a hobbyist. I don't know. I go back and forth on this because, like, coding live is very strange, right? Because I have to write code and I have to explain what I'm doing and I have to respond to comments and try and be entertaining and engaging. And there's kind of like there's a lot of things in flight, and I think I've gotten a lot better at it over the years, but it's still quite challenging. And for like a refactor like that, sometimes I just need like the quiet space to do it. So I don't know if I'd actually get it done in a stream, if that makes sense. So yeah. So anyway, I fixed this bug because this was going to prevent us having other. This had some knock-on effects later on. I'm always deducing this. I've updated the gun model is in there, but it's not currently workable. But it is in the secret assets now. We have default textures now. So before we have like the albedo and the normal map and the specular map. Those are now non-optional. The entire rendering pipeline assumes you will always have those textures, but there are default 1x1 pixel textures for all of them, all in the DDS format. So what the resource packer can now do is basically say when it uses async whatever to pass the model, if you've not supplied it with, say, a normal map, it will put in the default texture for you. I think these are in secret assets, but they need to be moved over, but I'll do that later. So yeah, so now we can kind of make this assumption that there will always be texture-driven data, and there's a fallback for all of them. So I think albedo is pink, normal is that weird blurple, like normal pointing straight out, specular is black, white, whatever the default makes sense is. I then went back and because I realized that I wrote all the code that does the resource packing uses YAML, but I did it before I did all the reflection code because I wanted to do that live. So it was using like sort of, I guess, vanilla kind of loops and stuff like that for building up the YAML. So I went back and I changed all that to use the reflection, which stripped out of the code, which was really nice. And then I had some bugs in the multi-buffer, which I don't know if Mr. Steak is here, but he's pointed out I've done this before. I have a habit of doing this. I don't correctly, when I've got the triple buffered coherent bit persistent nonsense, I wasn't correctly picking the right offset. So if stuff changed too quickly, you would get those weird artifacts. So there's that, and then I guess the real big change is, hopefully you can see this. We had material data and we had object data, and object data effectively contained an index into the material data. But I realized material data and object data were a one-to-one mapping. Like whenever you added a new object, you always got a new material. And whilst this is technically shared with other objects of the same mesh, the extensions I want to do going forward will require per model material data. So I basically just deleted this and I combined it all into object data. I don't know if you can see this somewhere, because that changes across all the shaders. And I went through all the shaders and I deleted all the bindings that were just kind of hangovers and left over. But basically object data now contains handles for the various thing, and I've added a glossiness one, which is the PBR roughness. So we kind of have access to that now, and there's some others as well which we need to add in, which is going to be emissive and the baked ambient occlusion. But I didn't want to do too much off stream, so we will be doing those at some point together. I might do the pre-baked AO one because it's just wiring stuff up, but emissive is really important, and I want to do that all together. And then what's the other one I did? Oh yeah, so I realized I was being stupid. We were binding the texture array, right, which is the global list of all textures and the bindless handles, which is a sampler 2Ds under the hood. And then we would always bind that array into as an SSBO, so a shader had access to it. And then we're passing like indices into this, so like index 4 or 7 or whatever your favorite integer is that is presumably pointing to a texture. I realized that was stupid because I can just pass in the bindless handle directly. So now none of the shaders directly use the global array of textures. Those are just there and resident. But now I just pass in bindless samplers directly. So it basically removed a texture lookup. So it's functionally the same, but I guess technically more performant, and it's just a bit of a rework. So now you'll see here, everything is uint64Ts, whereas before they were 32Ts for an index, and now they are, oh, that's a typo, that shouldn't be index, that should be handle, fix that later. But yeah, these should, so if you go to render entity, we now pass in, we construct this with, I've actually started wiring all these in even though I've not used them all yet. So this, rather than now having like I think before we had like the texture manager would return an index, and then you would assume index plus 1, 2, 3, 4 were the various materials that you needed. Now we just pass in like the bindless handle directly. So it kind of cuts out a load of stuff like that. Yeah, bindless handle is the pointer into the GPU memory. Effectively, yeah, that's the way I understand it. Is you make it resident, so it can't move around, and then you can access the texture directly via that. Context for auto camera, but it should be something like context for auto camera. This auto self. Not sure. I'd have to have a look. It's probably just a mistake on my part. And then finally, I went through and I wanted to wire in. I wanted to have a play around with the glossiness because it was looking a little bit flat, the lighting. So I went through and I'd had some mistakes in some of my shading code. So I was basically, I think I was always reflecting like a white light. The specular component was part of the light, which was wrong. It should have been part of the material, which derives from the roughness. So different materials will inherently have different specular amounts rather than like the light. Like a light doesn't care how shiny the thing it's reflecting off of is, right? So we pulled that out, worked in the glossiness texture, fixed up some other bits and pieces, and now it looks a lot better. Mistake. Hello. I was just telling everyone how you pointed out before how I had a bug where with my binding my persistent map buffers, and then I went through the code and I found that I had 2 more of those bugs that had just been sat there. So now, hopefully, you can see that the reflection here actually kind of has the color of the light rather than just being sort of like super shiny white. And then bottom right, this my big bold dome's in the way, but can you see it's multiple colors now? Before that was just effectively the specular texture baked into one channel. Now this is the specular and the glossiness baked into one texture. So we kind of we have access to both of those bits of data in the lighting pass. So when we come around the corner now, you should see that, yeah, like the lighting looks, I think, a bit more realistic. You can actually kind of see like the red and the green reflecting more on the floor. Some of these lights now are way too bright, which I think is just a symptom of like my bad shader code before. But yeah, I think it looks a little bit better. oh man, it's got to be Halo, right? It's definitely, and I really want to go for kind of Halo vibes on this. So yeah, what I really want to be able to do is have this fan spin, but I want it to do it via a coroutine, which schedules itself every tick to rotate it a bit more. But I want to do that via the entity handle rather than entity pointer. So yeah, so I think we're getting there, right? I think this is looking a lot better. It needs an awful lot of tweaking, like aesthetically, but I think the goal now is to put as many dials and knobs and levers in there as possible to start tweaking it. So the post-processing effects I want to do kind of in order. First are fog. I think we need some visual cutoff, right? So we can make I'm not like indie horror is like super played out and I hate horror games, but I think make it a little bit more atmospheric by having like a limited vision like distance. I think that'd be cool. And again, tweakable. So if we don't like it, we can just turn it off. But I think it's quite a simple post-processing effect to add. Found some articles. Then I want to do chromatic aberration, but I want to do it so that's where it simulates a lens not being able to fully focus the lights and you get the color banding. But I want to do it radially, so it just applies to the corners, just to kind of give it a bit more visual interesting around the edges, right? So not like super in your face, but just distort the corners a little bit. And then based on that, I probably want to add a vignette as well. So you just darken the corners a bit just to focus it in with a custom color. So like, I don't know if you're shot, maybe you can make the vignette bigger and red. I don't know, it might look shit, but we'll give it a go. So I really want to do fog, I want to do chromatic aberration, I want to do vignette. Then I want to do, what else do I want to do? I want to do noise, like a basic film grain. Just basically, I'm trying to cover up the fact that I'm going to be buying a lot of assets from different artists and they're absolutely not going to gel at all together. So I think just a little bit of noise, again, let's experiment around with it. This might be something that we increase as part of gameplay, but I think it should be there. Then LUT, but I might do that off stream because I've not built a LUT yet. I need to play around in Photoshop and I think we need all those other effects first. Then after LUT, I think that's probably most of the post-processing effects I want. Then I think we need to do emissive textures. So write the emissive textures out from these materials that we've got. And then we need to do bloom. And I think once we've done that, I think the game's going to look pretty, I think it's going to look better. It's going to look different. So next couple of streams is going to be just rattling through those, I think. I kind of just want the flexibility. I think I just don't know if this tone mapper kind of gives me exactly what I want. So again, also like just learning experience. I've never written a lot before. I've never done like the lookup code for it and stuff. So like, might as well throw it in, learn something, and then if it's a total disaster, I'll just remove it. So again, like a lot of this is just my own kind of learning as well. And then I want to go through and we might do some optimizations around the render targets, because these are all just like big fat floating point buffers, and I don't think they will need to be. I think there's some special like HDR specific ones like R10, G12, B8 or something like that. And then we'll do some we need to do a skybox at some point as well, but I'm just going to put that off. So yeah, I think we're going to get going. I think we should write some code. So I found some articles. If I can't find an article I want, I will have to defer to the Oracle, which is a bit lame, but like must make progress, must find information. So I found this, which basically says how to do like the different fog stuff. And then I also found this, which gives some actually better code. So I'm going to try and work this in. I guess as well, like fog's probably going to go before tone mapping, I guess. So in the I think what's going to end up happening is, so I have a tone map fragment shader. I think this is going to eventually be renamed to post-process, and I think it's going to do all the post-processing steps. So let's add a fog one to here, okay, and then see where we get to. Yeah, I'm going to go with exponential because I read somewhere that is better. for in fact, I think, yeah, exponential 2 or squared or whatever. Hope that sounds interesting. Okay, so I guess first thing here, so we've got the tone map, we're uchimuring. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't. It doesn't have to be like. I'm not shooting for photorealism. I want to shoot for like atmospheric and interesting. But because we're not doing PBR, like there's loads of other stuff we're not doing. But I think we can kind of just use some like easy-ish techniques to like I don't know, sort it out. Okay, right. So I guess so that does. So that applies the luminance, I think, averages luminance. Is that right? Is that where that comes from? Yeah. So do we do it before? Does fog come? As fog? I've already got myself stuck now. Do I do fog before or after I do dynamic exposure? Yes, but do I apply fog to in color before I multiply it by the average, or do I do it post this? Because I'm going to have something like, I guess what, float fog. It's multiplication, so it shouldn't matter. Sure. Float depth. So we're going to have to bring the depth buffer over. Vec3 color. Vec3. Oh no, then the others we. So we're going to. I don't know. I guess we do. What's this article say you do? You then mix it. So. So you're going to return something like mix in color u fog color fog amount, right? And fog amount you'll derive from the depth, right? So float fog amount equals 0.5. Right, and then I guess this will be in color equals fog depth when I get it. In color. Something like that. Something like that. Yes, IB clout. So something like that. And then we'll wire it up into ImGUI so we can toggle it and see the. I think there's other factors in there. I think you need like a fog density for the exponential one. If I'm looking at this correctly, you have a. You do exp, like I guess this is some sort of approximation of that, of the distance times the fog density times the fog density. Well, this squared, right? Yeah, so I'm not sure which way around it goes, but I guess it's actually kind of we can try both, right, and see what we like. So depth. So we're going to need access to the depth buffer. So let's start wiring these things in. So you depth texture, right? And then we can do float depth equals texture u depth texture in uv.r, right? So that will give us the depth. So we can do that, and then we're going to need another uniform. I suspect I will pull all these out into an SSBO of having all these different like random uniforms around, because I think it's going to get quite unruly. But let's make it work, and then let's refactor it. So then this is going to be location 10, and then uniform vec3 u fog. In fact, we could pack it into a vec4 and have the density and the color as 1. I don't know if that's... I think that's kind of cheating. Only because I think unless you profiled it and like for some reason you need to start doing packing stuff like that, I'd rather keep it clear, right? So we're going to do, so we got our so this is going to be float fog amount equals exp of depth times u fog density times depth times u fog density, right? I think. Focus which is HDR color, if not LDR color. Yeah, I think, to be honest, also I'm kind of like, I'm happy for there to be some mistakes in the shaders if it kind of looks okay, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't have to be like absolutely pristine, like photogramically correct. If we put a load of GLSL in there, it looks like okay. But like it'd be nice to be able to follow it around. So I mean, I think this project is doable in C. I just think that you'll end up running a lot more boilerplate, right? Because I rely quite heavily on the existing C++ primitives, hash tables and dynamic vectors and RAI and all that good stuff. So I think you would have to rewrite a lot of that or find a library to do it. But yeah, I think in my specific style, I think you'll struggle quite a lot because I heavily lean into modern C++, so like coroutines and ranges and stuff like that and concepts and a lot of templating. So I think you could achieve the same visually composited frame in C, but I think the code would be very different to what I do. Okay, right. So let's see if one can fog and wire these up into the tone mapping path. So let's do scene, right? So we're going to want a... I think we might want to collapse all these down at some point, but let's do struct fog options. And this is going to have a color and a float density. I don't know what's a good starting density. 0.5, right? And then this should equal color. Nope. Is it colors? Okay. Okay. Not 0. Thanks. Nailed it. Okay, so let's do. We're gonna be fog options, and then const expr auto fog options, this auto self, because we're going to want to use deducing this so that we get const when it needs to be const, not const when it's not, or row auto, and then we're going to have fog options. We actually need to add a member variable for that, fog options underscore. We're going to move it even though it doesn't really make any sense, but whatever, at least it's consistent with the rest. Fog options, and then somewhere down here. Fog options, and then fog options. Cool. Okay. I've never really used either, so I don't have much of an opinion. So, try both and see which you prefer. Oh. I suspect monogame will be easier because Raylib is just a framework for like windowing and rendering, basic rendering, right? So you'll probably have to do more work with Raylib. That's kind of my uneducated opinion. Okay, so let's go to my least favorite file, the debug renderer. So where do we do the SSAO stuff? We need SSAO options. So that's all there. So I guess above exposure options. I suppose below exposure options because it's below the exposure settings in the other one in the scene, but layout. Actually, no, because that's just the luminance and stuff. So I think the options probably should be above it. Let's put it above it. There's only so much fog options, and then we're going to want something like this. This I feel could all be reflected out. By the way, all this gubbins I absolutely hate, and I fully plan on reflecting out at some point. Fog options dot color, and this should be is it color picker 3 fog color. Where else do we use this? Color picker 3. You need this. Value there, and then copy into value the address of scene fog options dot color size of value, and then we'll stick value there. Then if we do this, we're gonna do copy that back into @scene dot fog options dot color value size of value. What are we thinking? Something like that? Where's my tilde? There it is. Ooh. I think OpenGL4.6 is great. I really like DSA, I really like MDI, I really like all the other TLAs. I think we're getting on pretty well with it. I mean, NeoVim setup is kind of. I used Kickstarter. Kickstarter, is that it? I used NeoVim Kickstart, right, which is basically like a sane default beginning setup for NeoVim, and then I just tweaked it from there. You can find my dot file as well. I think someone's already linked it, so that's kind of where I started. It's like when you're faced with any kind of system that's fully customizable, I always think, yes, I can tailor it to exactly what I want, and then I'm like, oh, but that's an awful lot of work. So I've always tend to find someone who's done like the legwork that kind of gets me 90% of what I want, and then tweak it from there. Okay, so after that, we can do effectively this. So let's do auto value equals scene dot fog options dot density. And then if imgui slide, what what do we think is a good like 0.01 f to like what's a good density? Is it between 0 and 1? Is that the density we want, or does it? I suppose we just put something down and see what happens. Value. I got that the right way around. No, not at all. Not even close. So I get what you mean, and I totally get what you mean when you say you like defaults for like editors and stuff, and that makes sense. What I actually like is consistency, and reproducibility. What I really want is to be able to go to a new system and with very little effort get exactly my system up and running, which you get for free with defaults, right? So I do understand that, but this is why I kind of try and keep religiously track of my dot files and only use tools that I think I can use across different systems. So I'm very particular about color schemes and fonts. Like fonts you can install anywhere, but like color schemes specifically, because I want to make sure that whatever color scheme I pick, I can use it on any tool. Harand, welcome back. We'll try to do some post-processing. So question, what is the package location? Yeah, so this just means, it forces you to access it through the global namespace. It has two purposes. One, it instantly starts the autocomplete, which is quite nice. And two, it's a personal preference, but it's a visual identifier to me that it's code I didn't write. So I will put this on any platform or third-party code. So at a glance, I'm like, yes, I didn't write this. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't have written this because this is not my naming convention. But at a glance, I'm like, yes, this is third-party code. Yeah. Shush. Okay, fine. And then we're going to do scene dot fog options dot density equals value. As this returns a reference, I wonder if I could just put it in here and that would just work. Am I being stupid? Pass. All right, let's just see. This will not work. The best way, right, is to just write lots of code. Like you have to go through the mechanical action of just typing out lots and lots of code, seeing errors, hitting problems, and kind of working your way through them. Like and basically trying to avoid like outsourcing all those kind of mistakes and fun bits to LLMs. Nailed it. Oh, because I'm not wired in any of the bloody uniforms yet, have I? I really wish OpenGL would tell you that. If it's like, you've not set anything for this uniform, like, yeah, cool, thanks. I want to use like the latest and greatest C++. I want to use all the new features as soon as they're available. So that's why I'm on 26, right? And also like part of these streams is for me to kind of talk about new C++ features and how you can use them and how I use them and the interesting parts and stuff like that. So we kind of want to be using the bleeding edge. Right, so lighting pass now has more tone mapping. Tone mapping, here we go. Right, so we want to do G buffer RT dot depth bindless handle, right? And then theme dot fog options dot color, theme dot fog options dot. I think a refactor is on the cards for this. I just like smashing more and more uniforms in. Part-time's not too bad. Like, it's not too bad. It's okay. If you're struggling for project ideas, then I think that is a good use of the Oracle. Just go and ask for like 10 beginner C++ projects and just pick the one that sounds the most interesting. My go-to projects for when learning a new language are always a ray tracer, and you can look up the article "Ray Tracing in a Weekend." That's absolutely great, written in C++, and then some sort of networking like client, like a TCP echo server or something like that, something that gets you using like the platform and doing fun stuff like that. What is going on here? So okay, so black means, I think it must be the density, right? It does look like depth of field, doesn't it? Whoa, I think my maths is wrong. Yeah, rewriting like standard Linux tools is great as well. Like write ls, write cat, write mukta, write, and some of the fun like command line options with it as well. Like write like a utility that you could drop in and use day to day. It might be 1/x per. I think you might be right. Yeah, is that what this is saying here? Tone map. So we want to do fog amount is 1.0 f over x per that. That's assuming I've got the depth mapped in correctly, which I think I do. That looks better. What if I said it's like blue? Oh, I've got so many lights. Hang on, let me just like stop flashing for a second. Right, so in theory, like I want to be able to like not see the end of the hallway, right? That's the goal, right? So if I feel like it's just changing how much it mixes this color in. Well, that's just the AO pass. What? Oh, is the SSAO not being fogged? I still feel this is wrong, right? Like I feel like this is just about applying like a haze over everything, and I feel like after a certain distance, I shouldn't be able to see anything, right? But this is, no matter how far back I go, I can still see the details. It does not, agree, it does not seem very depthy. What have I done wrong? Seems the depth is not correct. Let's just... whose depth do I want? I suppose we could just check against the SSAO pass, right? Because that correctly uses... Oh, that doesn't use depth, doesn't it? Doesn't that use the world position? we could actually change this. So what might be easier is if we do when we do SAO, what do we pass in? We pass in binary handle 1 and 2, which are the G buffer frag outs color normal pos. So pos is 0, 1, 2, so it's this one. So I wonder if we need to pass this in instead, because I think some point out the depth is probably not linear. Pass that in instead, which would then give you X, Y, Z. So I think we can then go to light pass frag and then do change, tone map frag and change the depth to Z. It's the wrong way around. I mean, it's cool, but it's the wrong way around. Use world space position to calculate fog. Is that not right? Do I not want the... Oh, hang on. No. Don't I now need to pass in the camera position and do the distance? Is the depth and the distance between the camera and then the world position? Do I need... Is that right? It's just an average buffer, mate. What one takes camera SAO frag? Does this calculate depth? This has a sample depth. So I get the sample depth here. This is how I do it in the SAO, which does work, which is... Why am I typing by the view? Oh, this is so much more complicated than I thought it was going to be. I wonder if I just need to do this and then do oops, vec3 I equals vec3 camera position naught and then depth would be just probably keep this on the same line. So then the depth would be the... So this is the frag pos, right? Do I use UBOs? No, I've just... It's uniforms or SSBOs, and it's those two are bust, I'm afraid. I should probably wire up UBOs, I just can't bother. So then can I do float depth equals... Is there length? Hang on, A to B, so frag pos minus I. Is that a thing? Just make it up now. Place the custom vec3 at 63 dot xyz. Not wide up, not past the uniform in, not past the uniform in. Sorry, not past the buffer in. It shouldn't. Yeah, bad things should happen. Right. Renderer, where do I? Right. Camera yank to 577. Go down to here. Put this in as buffer 2. I could do with abstracting out how all those buffers get bound as well, so I don't keep making mistakes around the moving the triple buffers. Okay. What happens if we... Why is it still the wrong way round? Like, I feel this is kind of what I wanted, right? So I can change like the fog color. It's still messing up with the SSAO. That's fine. Yeah, Super 26 is great. Also, where? Frag. Should I be applying SAO here anyway? Flip the mix in the fog function. Interesting. Or I guess I could just do 1 minus fog amount. No, I do not have a reverse depth buffer. But we're not sampling the depth buffer anymore anyway. I think it still says depth buffer, but it should be positioned as dark. Can't see shit. That's better. So can I give this like a purplish hue? Yeah, that looks better. That I think that adds a nice little like atmospheric glow. Like, I mean, maybe purple's not the right color, or maybe it needs to be darker, with a little bit of a hint of something. But almost black. Bring that forward a little bit. With the mix reverse, the fall off might not be logarithmic. So do I need to then? Do I just need to do 1 minus the fog amount then? Instead of getting there, I just try and work out why I think I'm doing the occlusion in the wrong place. I think I need to do this and then do in color times equals occlusion, and then drop this from here. Oops, for fuck's sake, start keepsake again. The game is coming to haunt me. Try depth equals minus depth. In cloud. Where's one? Well, taking an hour to do what I thought would take 30 minutes. Pretty standard. That needs a much better default as well. That's better. You don't get the occlusion now in it as well. I assume it's still... Yeah, you still get the occlusion, which is nice. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you very much. So that's... We don't want it too... I'm not making a horror game, right? But do we want it... It's like, I think... Oh, that purple looks really... It looks really cool. It just breaks up the distance a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It just adds that nice little kind of atmosphere to it. And because it's a uniform, we can change that. We could write coroutines that, you know, when something happens, like the fog color changes. But that's... I need to see what it looks like in like a bigger room. Yeah, I think that range needs to be much different. Yeah, because I kind of want it to be a little bit more impactful in here as well. So as you're kind of moving around like the fog does. I suppose this effectively gives us a coloured skybox as well, right? Because it will just be whatever that is. I don't know. I like that. I think that's good. I think I think it works quite well with the dynamic exposure as well. Yeah, yes, it's true. I think there's loads of stuff we can do now. Like again, it's the whole point is just wiring it up. But that I think is much more atmospheric. So what if we completely drop the ambient light now? Because I don't think we really need as much ambient light. This is way too bright as well. Let's make this a little more constrained and drop it down as well. Yeah, it's starting to look good. It's starting to look good. I'm pleased with that. Right. Does it save? I don't think it does. As in if I don't think we have the lights have changed. We just need to wire this into scene. Into description. Yeah, this is the issue. So description should also have fog options. Fog options. Oh, we need to change the range of the values as well. Yes, I think because I had a bug in the lighting code, we had to make the attenuation values like incorrect to actually see them visible. I think I need to probably just go back and spend some time tweaking all those values and making them more sensible again. What do we think was a good sensible for this? Like 0.05, 0.05, and then in the debug renderer, we want fog density to be from like 0.005 to, yeah, let's do 0.5. No, actually, it's too high. Let's do 0.2. Let's do what Krakow says. Scene, and then scene. So when we deserialize this one here, we need to do fog options description dot fog options. Can do 0 to turn off. Would that make the maths still work? Okay, give it a go. Okay. Right, so let's do that, do this, do that. This will now not run because it will try and deserialize. The only problem with this dynamically generated, like reflected based serialization, it's absolutely great, but it's not versioned in any way. So if I add fields, I have to then go manually add it, so at least build the first time. So we're going to want, what's going to want, like fog options, color R0, G0, B0, and then in fog options color we're going to have density, and that's going to be 0.02. I think that's all we need. And then got an hour. Let's see. Oh, bleh. Bleh. Debug renderer 314. Debug renderer 314. Missing field fog options. I don't think you. Ooh, you are. You are. Take it all back. Take it all back. I'm not going to do the refactor now. I think I might just do that off stream about renaming like it to a post processing rather than tone mapping and putting them all in like an FBO or something like that. So yeah, 0 turns it off. That is basically cannot see shite. And then there, I think we said was kind of like a good one for now. Make it a little bit purpley, a dark purple, a very dark purple, a bit bright purple. Bring it in a little bit. So we get some of that movement around there. Nice. Okay. So hopefully that can save. And then we can reload it and we'll get back that same depth and purple value there. I've just not had the time to spend with Rust, so I don't really have an opinion on it, and it's not really fair for me to have an opinion on it. Oh, nice. Yes, saving works. Yeah, that's true, yeah. But for like the scene we're building now, I think that looks pretty good. Because then if we back out of this, it should start creeping in. It just breaks it up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? That you can't just see infinitely in the distance. And I think having it exponential is quite nice. So it's much thicker further away, and it doesn't really encroach too much on your sort of where you can see now. Right. Let's do some commits. A lot of these are quite tied together. Okay. Add black color. Add fog options, and then it's basically render fog, commit, update the scene file. Okay. Yes, true. Yeah, it would have given a sense of scale, I think, to a larger world. But I think for now, again, I'm just messing around with it as I go along. Okay, right. I want to do. So, can I find the article that I was using for this? Yeah, just like. There's a really good blog series about post-processing effects, but whenever I look for it, I can never find it. It's in my bookmarks somewhere. I'll just one search in bookmarks. bookmark search for post OpenGL shader. This is it. I think this is it. Yeah, so this guy has a bunch of post-processing like shaders for game dev, which I think are quite useful. And it even has lookup table, film grain. So this is how I was getting ideas for a lot of these. It has chromatic aberration. My favorite part about this site, though, is that it uses Imgur, and because of the Online Safety Act here in the UK, Imgur is basically blocked for everyone. So I can't view any of these. So so you have to take my word for it. Take my word for it. The only problem is. The only thing is, this does it linearly, and I want to do it radially, and I can't. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to smart enough to work out the maths. So I might have to, unless anyone can help me work it out. I couldn't find an article which shows exactly what I want, but I'm pretty sure the Oracle will know what to do. So yeah. Yeah, animation is like rigging and skeleton animation is way down the line. Got to do physics first. I think we can start wiring it all up, right? So we could at least do what he's got here to get the linear one, and then we can maybe figure it out from there, because I only want it to be in the peripherals. But I think a lot of the options are still going to remain the same. So let's do watch as I spell this wrong every single time. Chromatic aberration options. Okay, I don't know the specifics. All I know is that they basically didn't make themselves compliant with whatever the UK wanted. Let's do float red offset. I'm going to pick his defaults. Okay, whether I want them to be my defaults or not, I don't know. 0.6F. Green equals minus 0.006F. Okay, fine. So I think we're going to be looking at quite a small range of values here. So not adding it to that. Can I get away with not adding it to this? Chromatic aberration options, chromatic aberration options. Const expra auto chromatic aberration options. This auto self whatever, whoever you are. Chromatic aberration options. I should just done CA. Should be 1B and 2 R's. God, gosh darn it, you're right. So let's do at least I was consistently wrong. Okay, right. Chromatic aberration options, and then we're going to do chromatic aberration options, third move, chromatic aberration options. Chromatics? Right, hang on. Whoa. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. Let me mess up one thing at a time, please. Whoa, what have I done here? Okay, right. Chroma. Oh, yes. Chromatic. Chromatic. Okay, fine. And then let's do fog options. Nope, sorry, got that. Okay, let's do scene return self dot aberration. Right. Whew. Okay. Chromatic. Okay, cool. Right, do that. Okay, let's just get all this wired up first because I hate doing all this. And then so somewhere in fog options we've got this. So let's do fog options and let's do chromatic aberration options, and then we're just going to basically yank this and do this 3 times. Yeah, it's not great. Yes, it needs a refactor. Yes, I also hate it. Chromatic aberration option. Steady. Chromatic aberration options. Red offset. Red offset. Red offset. And this is going to be something like negative 0.01 to something like that. In fact, actually, get rid of all this shite. We'll just copy and paste the actual one that works. Dot chromatic aberration options dot red offset. Okay, right. One. Red. CFD green. CFD blue. Right. I don't think you missed anything. Oh yeah, fog works. I don't know if you saw that or not, but fog doth. We do be fogging. Okay, so hopefully now I have 3 sliders for this. They obviously don't do anything, but at least they are there. So let's wire up the basic shader. I think I'm going to want to do chromatic aberration like quite late, like after everything is done, probably after the tone mapping, right? Make 3 chromatic aberration. No idea what's going to return yet. No idea what it's going to take. Probably going to take an. It's going to need to sample, isn't it? How does he do his? So. So he has a direction, right? So I probably could work that out based on the screen coordinates. Oh, just make that tiny. So that's basically what I need to do. Is I'm going to need, oh, they're uniforms, aren't they? So I can just access the input texture. So I need to do vec2 text size equals texture size. I assume I can do this. U input texture 0.xy. All right, okay. Give me the texture size, and then do vec2 text. Do I get the text chord for free with UV? Do I need to calculate? I don't need to calculate texture chord, right? Surely I know it. So if I want the direction to be I want the direction vector to be from the center, okay, which actually I can then work out via texture size, and then, but UV is, yeah, what space do I want the chord? I need it in UV coordinates. Let me just copy what he's done and then I'll try and figure out. So he does vec2 text chord equals GL frag chord dot XY over text size. So that gives me the current normalized texture chord. But isn't that UV though? And then vec2 direction equals text chord minus text vec2 0.5 f 0.5 f. Is that right? Would that give me the vector, the distance from the center outwards? If it's UV, it's the UV. I do have it. I do have UV. So I have. Oh, do I not pass in the? Oh, I do have it. I have it in UV. So in fact, actually, do I just then need to do? So is this just in UV like that? UV are from the corner, so UV minus 0.5. Because I want to sample along that vector. So do I need to do -5 like that? Because then I want to do, so this is gonna be yeah, probably. I think I just want to get something working first, then tweak it afterwards. So then basically let's wire up the rest of it. So we're gonna have float red equals, because you're then going to sample based along this offset, right? Because that's how you kind of get the chromatic aberration. So we're going to do U input. Ooh, no, we're not. U input texture in UV plus direction times vec2 U red offset, right? .r. So we're going to sample the red from some offset pixels away. Just gonna add some more uniforms. What's a few more uniforms between friends? I will fix this. Blue, and then green, blue. Would just be direction plus 1 times offset. For what? Just for the sampling? The problem I've got now actually is that because I'm not sampling I'm sampling the input. Does this need to be a separate phase, by the way? Does this need to be a separate pass? Because all I'm going to do is sample the original texture and it's not going to have any of the other post-processing effects applied to it. I think I need to see what this does. Like, do I then just do, like, after all this, gamma corrected plus equals chromatic aberration? Is that going to be an absolute mess? Scene dot chromatic aberration dot red offset. Crash? Oh dear. Like, it is definitely shifting some of the colors, but it's not applying them correctly. Right, so let me go back to what was the suggestion? Sorry, I just wanted to get something going. So we're saying is because you get where the pixel reference and skin the so would it not be 65 to 67? So we want a direction times 1 plus offset. So this. Is that what you're saying? Also, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to blend these. Should this have some sort of like scaling factor to it? Or do I mix them? Replace in UV. Oh, so just this. No, on the assignment below, sorry. Oh, I see. So this should be so you're saying this should be vec2 0.5 f 0.5 f like that. Okay, that is, I think that is doing the aberration, I think. Because I think if we play around with these sliders, we can probably see, yeah, you can see the red offset happening. Yeah, nice. Okay, that's cool. I think the problem now is it's just, it's adding all the colors. But I don't want that. I want them. What do I want? Because effectively I'm doubling the scene, right? Because I'm adding these colors, and then I'm literally adding this back here, right? So this either needs to be like, I still think this is going to artificially make the scene brighter. Too much data. Oh yeah, it's true actually, because it is a vec3. You need to replace the original image with the result to the aberration function. Because I basically want this to be like a mask that's applied over the top. So you only use, yeah. Replace the original image with the result of the aberration function. How do I... Oh, so like that? No, because then I won't have any of the pre-processing. This will probably work, but then I won't have any of the tone mapping or anything applied to it. I need to be able to sample. I think I need to do this as a separate pass, right? I need to have all this. Even that's. Yes, okay, fine. So do I need to add another pass for this? Lines above where we put the colors do input are minor. Oh, interesting. So do I need to do vec3 color equals texture? Oh, hang on. Do I take the original color and subtract it? So do I do U input texture? In fact, actually, do I do vec3 color? And then do I do, you saying I do this? Like that. And then I pass in I'm worried this is going to have to be a separate pass. It's not the end of the world. It's just more. I've got some more typing. Yeah, but do plus equals. Oh yeah, bottom. I mean, it's cool. It's not what I wanted, but it is cool. Yeah. Oh, that's really trippy, that. Okay, so do we think it has to be a separate pass then? I'm trying to work out, like, how does he do it? Because it's not particularly obvious here. But feel free to play around these, the particular color fringe you're looking for. These particular offsets produce the electron, blah, blah, blah. The offset's going to go with the reduction. Make 3 samples of the scene's color. These will be the final fragment color. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. So what he's basically doing, he's basically saying, hey, the red output of this is actually shifted off slightly. Yeah, so this is why this is the final pass, right? Because color texture is the full thing. So if your red offset was 0, then it would render the scene normally. Right? But then what you're saying is when you come to render the red component for this pixel, you take it from the source, the input, and then offset it slightly. Okay, fine. I think we're gonna have to do a separate pass and separate shader. It's not too much work. It's just boring. It's just tedious. Okay, fine. Let's do. So we're gonna want a program chromatic aberration. Aberration. Is that how we're spelling it today? Nope. Aberration program. We're going to need another render target for it because the light pass now is going to have to render. Sorry, the tone mapping pass is going to have to render to that, and then that will then consume it for the next one. Did I spell it wrong again? Okay, fine. So then we're going to need a render target chromatic aberration render target. And then we're going to want, after this, a final execute chromatic aberration pass. Okay. So render that his. So blur program is going to become. Let's say this is going to become chromatic aberration program, and it's going to be CA. I should keep it consistent. Chromatic aberration. Nope. Aberration. This is going to be C2T chromatic aberration. Chromatic aberration. And then C2T dot chromatic aberration. And then finally chromatic aberration program. No, not in Vim. Got to type it all out. And then here's basically the same as this, but actually I don't want it to be half size though, do I? So actually, I'll make sure I get this right. So it's going to be the same as this. Nope. C2T aberration Okay, right. We're getting there. So then this is going to call execute chromatic aberration scene. It's one of those things where like, I don't know, I should have just done it. But I was in the zone. So then tone mapping. So let's copy this to what, 667, then stick that there. Execute chromatic aberration scene. Okay. Pass. Okay, right, so that's going to execute that. So this now needs to bind a different buffer to render to... No, that's fine. That's still going to bind to the tone mapping one, because we're then going to read from that. It's the final blit pass that now needs to change. Where do we do the final blit? Post render blit. Final FB. Who writes to the final FB? Oh, here we go. Ah, oh, so smart. I knew I was going to have to change this at some point, so now I just take a pointer to it. Oh, I'm so smart. So that will now blit that. Do this, do that. So now we're gonna bind the chromatic aberration RT. We will clear that. Auto bind the chromatic aberration RT. So then the inputs to this are going to be the tone map RT color texture naught, right? So that's the inputs from that. And then it's just going to have the red offset, green offset, blue offset. It's going to need the vertex shader. It's not going to need the luminance. It's not going to need the camera buffer. And then it's just going to bind the statically built post-processing command buffer, which just has one command to draw a full screen quad. And it's going to do it. I think that's what we need. So now let's do assets shaders chromatic aberration dot vert tone map vert. This is basically the same as this, right? So it's going to pass those straight through, and then assets shaders chromatic frag. Let's take the tone map frag, stick it here, and then just tidy it up. So we don't need the camera. We do need the input texture. We don't need any of this gubbins. We do need those. So those then become 1, 2, 3. Have the out color. We don't need Uchimura. We don't need fog. We do need chromatic aberration. So this is going to take the in color there, and then it's going to do out color is chromatic aberration of in color. That's what it needs to do, right? Do we need to duplicate the numbers in the render code? Possibly. What I do need to do though is remove the extra shit from tone mapping now. So this is all going to go, basically just undo all this. Up until we fix that, and then that. Okay. I don't think we need to update the numbers because I have a utility function which uses template metaprogramming to bind them in the order that they are passed in as the function, as template arguments. So the renderer should bind these in that order as 0, 1, 2, and 3. Which is how it works. Brr, what have I done wrong? Why were you not auto? Oh, because that's going to be a program, not a render target, I think. Set uniform. Which set uniform? Well, that's a lot of uniforms there. You can see here it's the templates putting out the arguments on renderer 636. Oh, did I not pull these out? That was so clever. That was so clever. I like how OpenGL is like, oh, if you don't give me enough uniforms, it's fine. But if you give me too many, I will explode. I was like, oh, pick a lane. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why can't you be consistent? Anyway, I'm just angry now. Uniform on unbound program. Set uniform on program 98. Program total errors in the renderer. Chromatic aberration pass renderer 675. Why is it not like this? Chromatic aberration frag. 0, 1, 2, and 3. I don't understand why it's not liking those. Chromatic aberration also doesn't need this for a start. What's the actual error? Setting uniform on unbound, but the program is bound. How do we do it here? -675. Oh, haha, good spot. Sent on the wrong thing. Yeah, this will work. I guess it doesn't tell you if you're not set too many because you might have some system where you only need to set certain uniforms and like generate code and stuff. So I do kind of understand it, but bleh. Well, now I have only the shifted colors. Sorry, wrong dial. Do I need to now mix that in? That should all be done. Right? There's no SA. Right? This is purely coming from the. Let me just check I've got the right tone map RT. So this comes from the output from the tone mapper, right? Are we adding it to the input color? No, but he doesn't add his, right? I mean, I could try. Okay, yeah. I think that's is that doing it? Is that if I whack this up? I think we get that's I think that's it, isn't it? Yeah, you got the bleeding colors from the edges. Like it's obviously way too much. This needs to come right down. I think that's doing it, isn't it? If we set these to 0. Yeah, it's still not doing it the way I want it to. I want to. I want it to go diagonally outwards from the center, whereas is it doing it? I think it might. Oh, it's so hard to tell. So as green is more obvious because your eye is more sensitive to it. It needs to go much more. Why is it's not doing as much minus as I want? Hang on, give me 1 second. I think this needs to go like quite far, much further back. Yeah, what I want is the fringes of the screen to be almost like you're looking through a lens or something, like to be a bit more, like just a bit more visual interest. I don't want the whole thing to be, unless it's like a glitch effect or something happening in game where like the whole thing goes. But that definitely does go in and out towards the center. If I look like over here, does it kind of do what I want it to do? Like you just want them just all slightly offset from each other, right? In fact, bring the green in to 0. And then you have like a purplish offset then. So so that's what we're doing. Just looking through. I wonder if we also need to probably have some sort of offset as well, right? So it doesn't happen in as much in the middle. Yes. Do I want to just return that then? And then add that over the top? In the function return vec3, not cover, and then just return the vec4 in main. Ah, so what, just this then? Oh yeah, that looks better. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's much more like what I was expecting here. If you look up here, you should be able to see like what we're at now. Once we set them all to like the same amount. That's cool though. Right, so what I want is that just to be on the fringes of this screen. So now we gotta, I feel like we need to, I don't know, like scale it outwards. Like, we could have like I want it blended towards the edges, right? I don't want it to be like because you get the length of this, right? Yeah. So this direction will be. I'm just trying to work out how to. Yeah, we can fix that later. I think for now, like I just want to kind of get the effect kind of mostly. So this is interesting actually. So this is it already kind of doing this because direction will be bigger the further out you go from the center, right? So this will be close to 0 at the center, which means this will be scaled to 0. So do we just need to kind of like fudge this a little bit more? Does this need to have some sort of like scale factor? What if I times this by like what would like 2? No, 0.5? Which way do I want it? I should probably put a slider in. Whoa. Maybe not that. Maybe not that. Oh, hang on. Precedence. Yes, you're right. Perfect. So do I need like 0.5? Or is this just going to fisheye? Is this going to make the bigger? Do I need a mix? Oh, that's awful. Right, that's obviously not the way. I feel like I need direction to... Something needs to scale. Do you know what I mean? Like, scale the offset by the length. So which one's the offset? Oh, this. So do you mean... Again, order precedence here. Do I want this times strength? Yeah, but I need to know like what the sliders are doing. Right, let's try that. I need to kind of get a base understanding of like what I'm adding sliders to. But I just sort of start throwing sliders around here, there, and everywhere. Boom. Strength. Can we do the vignette as part of this as well, do we reckon? Just darken it by some scale. I think that's... Is that right? I think that's right, but I think we need a sliding scale on it now. Because if you look... It doesn't help that everything's flashing bloody red. But yeah, if you look in the top left here, you can see the colors are shifted. Right, let me just... Right. But then if you look at them, they stop shifting. I suppose we could make this more obvious by really like rounding up like the green offset. Yeah. Okay, that does do it to the side. It's not seamless, by the way. Just FYI, none of this is seamless. Like, I'm making a lot of mistakes as I go along. Have I changed the whole field of view, or am I going mad? So then this needs to be times by some sort of U scale, right? Scene, aberration options, float, strengths. I think strength is better. Equals 0.5f. Chromatic aberration, the frag, strengths. And this will be strength times U strengths. And then debug renderer. What's another slider between friends? And what, like, from 0.0 f to, like, I don't know, 1.0 f? So from, like, nothing to everything? I got, yeah, fix that later. I kind of want a vignette color though, so I can have like red if like player is shot. Does that feel like a sensible like use of vignette? Not wired this in yet, have I? That don't go nowhere. One minus strength. Is that right? So is the strength? No, I want the strength as it goes up to make the overall number higher, right? That would be inverting it. Or can I not maths this late in the day? I don't know. I don't know if I like it or not. It's kind of fun to play around and add, right? And I think it has some interesting implications. And again, just to kind of break it up a little bit as well. Oh, vignette. Okay, cool. Right. So let's see what happens when we play around with this slider here. I think that's changing the radius it affects at. So if I just do it like a little bit, I should just get it in the corners. You're right. I think the aspect ratio is wrong. But just a little bit, I think, just to add a little bit of intrigue to the corners. And I probably want to keep the green roughly 0 because I'm interested more in, like, at the moment, like the sort of purpley aesthetic. Let's bring out the red and the blue. Hang on 1 second. Okay, and then I guess maybe make it just a little bit stronger. Hard to tell whether that's having much of an effect, but it's because it's quite. I want it to be quite subtle. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know. No, I think that's right. Because if I look there, yeah, I'm not bringing it in any closer, am I? Okay, I might play around with this off stream and get it working, but I think like I'm still pretty pleased with this. Like I think it's looking pretty good now. If I just like delete that light and then drop the ambient light. Oh, the ambient light's already off. Okay. Raise the strength of power and tie the sliders back. Probably, yeah. I think my brain can't handle the maths tonight. I think I'll look at that off stream. But I think it's pretty much there, right? Like I think it's pretty cool. I think we're definitely getting there. We need to serialize it super quick, don't we? Let's just quickly get that done. So then here, so this here would have chromatic aberration options, and then this would be chromatic aberration options, and then dot chromatic aberration options equals self equals self dot chromatic aberration options. I need to add the whatever the defaults are into the scene as we have it. Scene. So this is going to be chromatic aberration options, and this is of type chromatic aberration options, and this is going to have a red offset of type 0.009, green of 0.9996, CFD is going to be blue, and that's going to be negative 0.006, and then finally strength is going to be 0.5. Okay, I think that's fine. So that's runs and blends and does all the things, and then we can stick this in the GitHub. Next stream, we will keep adding effects. I think we need to do vignette and we need to do noise, like film grain, like just very subtle film grain. I think just to break up some of the scene and give it a little more atmosphere. Again, if it's dreadful, just turn it off. Just check that saves. Cool. Okay. Okay. Fine. Let's do add CA shaders. So many commits. I don't need to type it out over and over again. Commit. Add CA options and then commit render CA. Again, it's kind of first pass because I think there's a bug in it. And then update scene for push in the GitHub. Right. Oh, is it? Oh, in a new month. I think there's YouTube gifts to give out. Isn't that exciting? Tag. Oh, well done. Yep. We stream 31. Okay, let's tag that. Let's. Oh, interesting. The new overlay doesn't handle this. I'll have to check that. But anyway, there are people with YouTube gifts. It's annoying it doesn't appear in the bottom. I'll have to see why that is because I turned the other highlight off. But anyway, 5 of you have received free gift. Congratulations. Gives you early access to videos, of which I have not even started planning this month's video yet, so running out of time. OpenGL, I think I can just achieve more with OpenGL than I can with Vulkan. I don't need all the control Vulkan gives me, right? So to do something live and make progress, OpenGL for me is the better choice. It's just like a one-man band trying to figure out as I go along, try and make progress. That's kind of my view on it. I think if we were using Vulkan, we'd be nowhere near where we are now after 31 streams, and it wouldn't be any more performant. I get to gift 10 one-month memberships per month in batches of 5 on live on YouTube. Okay, I think this is looking pretty good. Like, I'm pretty pleased with this. I think we're in a pretty good place now. Next stream we'll do vignette and we'll do noise, and then after that we're going to do, so we're probably going to be a couple more streams of this, right? So then after that we're going to write out the emissive textures, because we don't write those at all at the moment. Like, they're there, but we just don't use them, and not all the models have emissive textures, so I'll go and find in the model pack I've got some ones to kind of play around with. Then we can bloom. I'm planning on doing let me try and find it. The advanced, I think it's called Advanced Warfare bloom method, the one with the 13 taps. It's like a secret article on Learn OpenGL. Physical based bloom. Yeah, this is we're going to follow this. I think it's got a good example. Basically, we just create our own MIP chain where we downsample the frame buffer using this tap pattern, and then upsample it again using a slightly different pattern, which basically blurs it for us. And then I think it's got a nice before and after. Like, is this going to work? So this is the traditional. This is like my first OpenGL. Oh, sorry, hang on. Just realised it's tiny. So which way is it? So you've got, so that with the really fuzzy edges is like the other, like the standard blur with the high pass filter, and then just like a bi-directional blur on it. Whereas the one I want to do is when it changes over this one, it gives you, I think, it's a much more subtle glow. And I've never done it before, so it could be fun to give it a go. So yeah, we're going to try. We're going to give that a go. I'm probably just going to follow along the tutorial and hope for the best. I've never used BGFX, but like if you get use out of it, then you should absolutely use it. It's kind of hard for me to have an opinion on something I've never used before, but like if they solve your particular problem, then you should use them. I'm just kind of having fun doing what I'm doing, to be honest. I think that's all I've got. I think that's largely it. Thank you for coming on and keeping me company. It's been great. I feel like we got quite a lot done today. I probably even maybe got another community post out of it, which is obviously important. Definitely beer time. I'll hang around on Discord for a little bit. I've got to be up early for work tomorrow, so I won't be around for too long. But other than that, I will see you all anon.